Hey, welcome back to another SOS video, everyone. Good to have you back on board. Man, you are not going to believe this crazy story. If you watched the first interview, I'll put all links down below. But this is the part 2 of the Gregory Ayers interview. The first one is the longest one. It's filled with a whole bunch of I don't knows, and I don't remember that, or I don't remember what I was doing. This one, I don't know. We're about to find out. But I did want to show you a couple things before we got started. So as you guys know, I am an open records addict. Okay, I love doing open records. I really do. I feel like it is the primary way to find out if corruption exists in an agency. Because when you start doing certain open records requests, the open records custodian is immediately going to call their supervisor and alert them. Hey, look, this guy's asking for this crazy stuff. So those kinds of things happen, and a lot of circumvention takes place. So in this particular case, I wanted to get the body cam to see what happened to Miss Howard, because she got broken ribs, and she told the EMS on scene, and you heard it in the last video, it was the first part of the video, where she told EMS the cops hurt her by shoving her in the back of the police car. But now all of a sudden the body cam don't exist. They closed out the request without giving me anything. And I had to let them know that they're violating the Georgia open records laws, and they need to go ahead and release the records that I requested. So after doing that, they emailed me the pictures, most of the pictures. The first group of cops was from Canton Police Department. The second group was from the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, which Canton is in Cherokee County. So that's why the Canton Police Department officers was taking Miss Howard to the Cherokee County Jail. So Karen Murphy said there are no videos in their system for that incident. And my response was check page 3 and escalate this to your supervisor. On page 3 of this document that I sent them, labeled confidential, is Tiffany Cromer saying that she watched the video, the dash cam and the body. So they cannot refute it. But guess what? They emailed me back and said, as stated previously, there are no videos in our system. Videos for incidents are maintained for a period of 18 months only. As we go through the interviews, I will post updates like this at the very beginning so I keep you up to speed on where everything is at. Now, let's go ahead and check out the second part of this video. And thanks to everyone who has contributed and become a member, or contributed in any kind of way, whether you liked the video, subscribed, shared it. You made this happen. You make records. Getting these records happen. It allows me to go much deeper into these cases and spiral off and find out what other kinds of stuff may be involved. Okay, let's see what else Gregory has to say, and then we'll move on through the rest of the interviews. Appreciate you guys' support. Peace and love.
This is a Shields of Shame exclusive.
Elderly Lois Howard, arrested by Canton Police in Cherokee County, Georgia, following a grocery store dispute. Howard alleges mistreatment, including being shoved into a police car, breaking her ribs. Chaos ensues at Cherokee County Detention Center as jail staff refuses admission due to Howard's injuries. Officers left her in the lobby anyways and fled the scene. Listen to the interviews and gather the facts and form your own assessment of the truth. Please visit shieldsofshame.com for behind-the-scenes content. Thank you for supporting our work. Also consider becoming a member. It's just 99 cents a month, and you will have access to bonus content and early releases.
Today's date is July the 22nd, 2021. The time now is 2:12 p.m. In the room is myself, Sergeant Tiffany Cromer, Lieutenant John Loomis, and Sergeant Gregory Ayers. This is in reference to an internal affairs interview. Okay. First thing I want to go over is Garrity, okay? Since this is a separate and new internal affairs investigation, which is 21 IA 047, I'm going to read you the Garrity warning, further explain it to you. Before we even get into this, we just talked about truthfulness. I need you to understand that we are going to be going over questions that we have already asked you in previous interviews, okay? And I need you to be truthful with me. And if you can recall things, you tell me. If you can't, you can't. But I need you to be honest with me, okay? All right. Understand that we've spoken to all parties involved. We've had interviews, we've listened to phone calls, we have watched body camera footage, we've read over reports. We've looked into everything there is. This is the final part of our investigation, is this interview, okay? So understand that. So, again, I'm going to be going over questions. Lieutenant Loomis may be asking you questions as well, just about questions that we have previously asked you about to find and understand further clarity of those answers and if there's anything you'd like to add. So, all right. In that first interview that we had, you and I, okay, when I asked you about the conversation, or I'm sorry, of you speaking to Officer Leonard at the jail, if you did, when I gave you that entire convo that y'all had that I read to you word for word, you told me that you did not believe that was you on the phone and that no, you had not spoke to her. Okay, regarding that, is there anything that you want to provide or tell me anything further? Have you remembered anything further from that conversation?
I don't. I told you exactly what I remembered as far as talking to her, everything. And I told you, if me and Leonard had that conversation, I don't remember it. I don't remember having a conversation with her. And I've been upfront and truthful about that since the beginning. I don't remember. And it's like I told you before, if I remember anything, then I've told you what I've remembered. And I also told you, if me and her had a conversation, then we had that conversation. Do I remember when I had it? No. Do I remember what it was about? No.
Okay, so this is the hard pill for us to swallow, okay? That was 2 days. I interviewed you the first time 2 days after the incident occurred, okay? You were able to remember in length what you and Sergeant Embriano's conversation was about.
I made notes of what me and the sergeant in the jail called me and told me what Leonard had said. I turned right around and I called Lieutenant Campbell, and I let Lieutenant Campbell know from my notes what the sergeant in the jail told me had happened. And I also told Lieutenant that I knew we had to let Captain Tucker know, and I asked Lieutenant Campbell if it was okay if I let Captain Tucker know by 7 o'clock that morning before I went home and went to sleep, and he said that was fine. I did exactly that, but I went off of, I had the notes from where I talked to the sergeant in the jail about what he thought Leonard said. I had all that. I took notes. As soon as that happened, I took notes of who I talked to and what time I talked to him.
Okay. All right. So, and just for me to clarify, it is fair for me to say that you don't remember any of that conversation you had with her while she was at the jail?
I don't.
Okay. You explained to me that you thought that you had called her because of some possible perishable items at the jail.
I did.
Correct? Okay.
I did.
All right. This is the other issue I'm having. All right? And for me to be able to understand this, I'm unable to locate a phone call conversation through dispatch that you had in reference to those perishable items. Also, when I spoke to Leonard, she doesn't remember anything being said about perishable items. She doesn't recall anything. On top of that, those items were never picked up. So, you're able to remember that you think that phone call was about you calling about perishable items. Is it fair to say that since you can remember that, why it's difficult to understand why you can't explain to me or any of us what that phone call conversation is about? You can remember the perishable items part, but you can't remember anything else. Is it fair to say that's difficult for us to understand as to how you can remember that aspect of it, but you can't remember any of the other part of the conversation? Can you see how that's difficult for us to understand?
Dispatch asked me to give them a call about the perishable items. I told her to get them to get with Leonard. What they did after that, or if they did that or not, I don't know.
Okay, so you weren't calling her about the perishable items?
No, ma'am. I talked to dispatch. Dispatch asked me to give them a call. And they told me, and I said, pass it on to Leonard.
Okay.
Because the best I could recollect, she was still at the jail or close by that she could have went by and got that. I didn't talk to Leonard about going by and picking stuff up. Dispatch asked me to give them a call. I called them. They passed that information on to me about the perishable items that they had in dispatch that they were trying to get to, like the battered women's shelter or somewhere, to somebody that could use them because they brought a ton of stuff that was going to go bad if it didn't.
Well, then I
didn't contact Leonard.
Okay, hold on. What I need to understand then, yes, you did call her. We located 2 phone calls on your phone in that first initial interview.
Okay.
Okay. One was at 1:22 in the morning.
Okay.
Correct?
Okay.
We both saw that on your phone, correct?
Okay.
Okay. Why did you call her at 1:22 in the morning?
I can't remember. That's just it. I don't know what I talked to her about. I don't know.
Okay, if I called you and I was thoroughly upset, as we saw on that video that she was, the language she was using, how she was speaking, I find it extremely hard to believe that I wouldn't be able to remember that conversation.
I'm telling you everything, I promise, I swear. I'm not lying about, I'm telling you everything that I can remember from this being the 4th time I've been called in here. I'm being upfront and as honest as I know to be.
Okay.
I haven't lied about anything. If I remembered, I wouldn't have a problem in the world telling you. And I told you, I don't remember what that conversation was about.
Okay, let's move on to the 13-minute phone call conversation. Okay? All right. In that 13-minute phone call conversation, you were headed back here to the PD. Okay? When I spoke to Officer Leonard, she said that during that conversation, you called her. Okay? You called Officer Leonard, and she was coming back here to the PD. And at some point, you both met each other here. Fair enough? Do you recall meeting her here? Do you recall that?
I remember running into her. I run into her all the time. Can I remember the exact time? No.
Okay. But do you recall if it was about the time she was leaving?
Possibly. I don't know for sure. I don't know. I can't remember 9 weeks ago what happened time for time. It's like I explained to you before. If she says we had a conversation and she can remember what that conversation was about, then that probably happened.
But you told me the conversation.
But do I remember it?
But you told me the conversation was about her downloading her body camera footage before she left. So is it fair to say that while y'all were here, she was about to leave, but y'all had met before she left?
Before she left, she knows that she's supposed to download her body camera footage.
Okay. The other issue I'm having is prior to you making that 13-minute phone call conversation, you spoke to dispatch. That is that recorded conversation that I let you listen to between you and that dispatcher, correct? You make, you remember listening to that, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
You make a statement in there after he explains that Miss Howard is at the animal shelter complaining of rib pain, saying that she was forced into a car by some officers. You made a statement stating that she had rib pain while she was at the Publix, and that you were going to contact Officer Leonard about that and figure out what was going on.
Okay.
Not even 2 minutes later, that's when that 13-minute phone call conversation happened. Okay? So, after knowing that and understanding how those are related, can you remember anything specifically or recall anything about that 13-minute phone call conversation with Officer Leonard? Just take a moment and think about it.
Please consider subscribing.
There might have been a conversation about verifying with Leonard that she was complaining about Jerry again breaking her ribs. That was her always complaint. But other than that, no, I don't.
Okay, about...
She might have said something about, yeah, she complained of her ribs hurting, but she's always making those allegations about Jerry's always kicked her in her ribs or in her kidneys. It's always Lois's kidneys or her ribs. Other than that, no, I don't.
Okay.
I guess I was verifying that the pains that she said that she was having were, again, like I said, it's all on me because that's an elderly woman that's my job to protect. So blowing that off, that's something I have to live with. But that's the only thing I can minorly remember having Leonard a conversation about, was about the fact that she's always complaining, and she was complaining about Jerry doing that, not them doing that to her. Because they've never been over aggressive with Jerry or Lois, because they always, I mean, and it's no excuse, but they always, everybody knows, it's like I said before, everybody knows Lois is always complaining that Jerry either kicked her in the ribs or kicked her in the kidneys. Whenever we all know Jerry probably couldn't get his feet 3 inches off the ground. So if me and Leonard had a conversation about the injury, that's probably what that was. Was it about anything else? I don't know, because I can't remember any of it.
Okay, but now you're recalling this part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything else you can recall? Because before you couldn't. Now you're telling me you're remembering this part.
Yeah.
So I need you to think about this.
I can't.
Okay. The in-person conversation that you had with Officer Leonard. Do you remember any of that? Do you recall any of that conversation you had with her?
I don't. At that point, I was coming back, I guess, to start on trying to get stuff done. Like I explained to you and Lieutenant Loomis, I was ready to get out. I had other stuff that I was already planned on doing, trying to get home to try to get my house straightened back up. I don't. I've been as truthful as I know to be. I'm not trying to hide anything. I never have.
But do you understand how difficult it is for us to understand that?
Yes, ma'am. I totally understand.
That you can remember certain things that, like, Sergeant Imbriano told you, or that she had pain in her ribs on scene, but you can't remember 2 phone call conversations and an in-person conversation. Those 2 phone call conversations were initiated by you. Not her calling you while you were in the middle of something, doing something. This is you taking a moment, sitting in your vehicle, wherever you're sitting, grabbing that phone, searching her name, calling her, and talking with her on the phone.
I understand.
That's difficult for us to understand, that you cannot remember those conversations, to even include that in-person conversation. That's hard for us to understand.
I understand.
That's why we're sitting here right now.
This is a Shields of Shame exclusive. Exclusive. Exclusive.
I haven't been untruthful about this whole thing. I've told you everything I could possibly remember. When it comes to me, I can tell you, I have no reason to lie. I've never had no reason to lie about anything. If I'm in the wrong, then I'm in the wrong. But I'm not going to lie to try to cover up one of my wrongs. That's not me. I'm telling you everything that I can possibly remember.
Okay. When you spoke to Sergeant Imbriano, at any point, do you remember, since you do remember a good bit of that conversation, do you remember him telling him that you were going to talk to Officer Leonard, or that you had talked to her about the situation prior to talking to him?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What did you tell Sergeant Imbriano? Did you tell him that you had talked to Officer Leonard prior to that?
Because I hadn't at that point. He called me and made me aware of it, the best I can remember.
Okay, but before, when we just spoke, you said you remember that conversation, that little bit of conversation, on the phone with Officer Leonard about the broken rib and the injury.
That was after the fact. That's whenever
No, you spoke to Sergeant Imbriano after. That was 1:22 and 2:01 in the morning. You spoke to Sergeant Imbriano at 3-something in the morning. It is not after the fact. Take a moment and think about this. When it comes to the phone call conversation that you had with Sergeant Imbriano, did you tell him that you had already spoken with Officer Leonard about this and that you were going to handle it?
No, ma'am, I don't think I did.
Did you talk to him and tell him, hey, look, I'm going to talk to her? Did you talk about any of the conversation that you had with Officer Leonard with Sergeant Imbriano?
No, ma'am, I don't remember that I did.
You don't?
No, ma'am, I don't remember.
Okay. All right, when you spoke to Lieutenant Campbell that morning and notified him after you spoke to Sergeant Imbriano, did you tell them that you had spoke to Officer Leonard at that point? Did you, like, when y'all were talking, hey, look, this is what's going on, this is what happened?
No, because I...
Think before you answer. When you called him, did you tell him you had spoke to Officer Leonard already? And to jog your memory, maybe when you were on the phone, would you have said, hey, yeah, I've talked to her, this is what she said about this?
I don't remember.
Or what she told me is a lot different than what Sergeant Imbriano told me. Anything along that lines.
I don't remember. I remember going across with him with the notes that I had about what the sergeant in the jail said.
Okay, well, when you talked to Tucker, did you tell him anything about you and Officer Leonard's conversation? Or if you had spoken to her?
I can't remember if I told him about me talking to her or... I can't remember. I know I had notes from the sergeant of what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And I took them with me on that sticky note with the times and stuff that I talked to the sergeant.
And did you decide to call Captain Tucker, or did Lieutenant want you to call Captain Tucker?
No. The best that I can remember, I told Lieutenant Campbell if it was okay, instead of sending an email, if I called Captain Tucker and talked to him personally on the phone instead of trying to type up something in an email. He said that was fine, just to make sure that I called him, which I did. Whenever I told Lieutenant Campbell, I would call him.
Okay.
And I had stuff on the sticky note with the times and stuff and the sergeant's name. And I even jotted down the quote that he thought that Leonard might have said.
Okay, all right. Lieutenant, do you have any questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Sergeant, I understand that this has been going on for, you said 9 weeks. I'll take your word for it. It's been a while. And you got to, I understand you're aggravated. I would be too. And you've been in here 4 times. And partly for the reason for that is there's stuff that's transpired that we, like she said, we have a hard time swallowing, and we just want to make sure we've got everything the way it should be, because this is it. It's going to be topped up, and if there was any opportunity that you might have recollected something, then we're giving that to you. If not, we understand. You've clearly said you don't remember many times, and we didn't bring you in here to call you a liar. We're not saying that you're being untruthful, nothing like that. We want all your statements to be verified. We're ready to be done with this as much as you are. Okay? Question wise, no, I don't have any further questions. Do you have any questions for us?
No. I understand this job's about character. It's about integrity, and that's what I've always done. So, I mean, I accept whatever, because I know inside with myself personally, I've been as truthful as I know to be. I'm not lying. I know what this job's about. If you don't have character or integrity, you don't have anything. You get labeled as not being truthful, you don't have anything. You don't have people's trust. You can't do anything in this job. And I understand that. And I've been as truthful as I know to be. I don't have a reason to lie.
Okay.
It's like I told you before. I had a lot of stuff going on. I was ready to go home and start on that. That's on me. That's on me. My supervising wasn't where it should, nowhere near where it should have been. That's on me. I take responsibility for that. But I'm not being untruthful about anything. I've told you exactly what I could remember of whatever.
Okay. Well, we have no further questions for you. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. The time now is 2:36 p.m.